What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Mike Robinson, and yet another episode of Let's Take a Walk. I hope everybody had a great week. I had a great week. It just, as usual, it's just like you wake up one morning, it's Monday, and then you go to sleep and wake up, it's Friday. And here we are. So, but we are safe, we are healthy, we are whole, and so that's always a blessing. Tonight we have another amazing guest. She is a. I asked her what title that she goes by or whatever. She was like, you know, knock yourself out and go do it yourself. So she does. She's a praise and worship leader. She is a Christian recording artist. She is a minister of sorts. She is an all around woman of God. She is a businesswoman. She is um, a hustler. What is that Shaka Khan? She's everyone. um, yeah, I gotta forgive me. I'm a little bit sleepy. I get silly when I get sleepy. But but her name is Christian Williams. She is a Portsmouth native.
Yes.
Okay. And for those of you who may not be familiar with Miss Christian and her movement, I'm going to give her the floor to kind of reintroduce herself and give a little background on all that she has going on. So, Miss Christian, you got the floor.
Hi, everybody. Again, I'm Christian Williams. I'm a 23-year-old entrepreneur. Currently, um, going after music as hard as I can. I'm currently working in the process of working on a couple of projects musically. I just put out my first single, Have Your Way. If you don't have it, you are able to go download it on all streaming platforms. Currently, just trying to do everything that I can to get the message of Christ out with the sound that He's given me. And a big part that I do that in is music. Again, I am a praise and worship leader, but God has been really enlarging my territory and broadening my borders. So I'm excited about that. So
Okay, that's awesome. That's awesome. So let's just dive right in. Let's start
let's
with
go
the with
in.
the mu- with the music. um, when did it start? Like, when did you start singing?
I started singing around the age of 3. Um,
Mm,
I've grown up singing around the house. My dad was a preacher slash singer, so he and I would sing together. I would watch videos on YouTube. I'm I'm old school, so I would watch James Moore and Milton Brunson, like things of that nature. I would always, chill with my dad and we would sing together. Um, Throughout the years, I started singing more and more. I got more confident in my voice around the age of 16. I've always done like chorus in school, but I got more confident to, I've gained confidence to join my church choir at the age of 16. And it's been a journey. I think in 2016, when I was a freshman in college, that started my journey to leading worship. So it's been quite some time, but I didn't really launch out until 2016. So
okay. So 2016. What was so special about 2016?
ah 2016, I got that was my freshman year of college, and became independent. The college kid that moves away from mom and dad and everything that she knows. And I started visiting other churches other than my home church. Um, and I was able to see different styles of worship that I had never seen before. Um, I used to go to GET, Church of God in Christ, in Hampton, and one time they had a talent show. Um, and in the talent show, they were like, "I heard you can sing. Can you sign up for the talent show?" And I said, "Okay." And I said, "I have no idea what I'm gonna sing." I got up there and I made up a medley with "You Are My Strength." And I had no idea what I was doing. I was filling it out in the moment. I ended up winning the talent show. And from
Wow.
there, it was like, well, can you help our youth and young adult praise team? And that's how I started leading worship.
Okay. That's awesome. So you went from leading worship to eventually becoming an artist.
Uh,
So is there a difference between being a worship leader and an artist? And if so, what's the biggest difference between being an actual artist and a worship
mm, okay, that's a good question. Um,
leader?
Forgive me if my
Okay.
answer is a little lengthy, because I fought against it for so long.
Mhm.
Um, I've always wanted to be the worship leader. I always would say, I don't want to be an artist because I don't want to try and put on the hat of an artist and lose my identity as a worship leader. Um, but I'll say that they're different in a sense, but they can be the same, the same roles as it relates to your assignment to the people that you are ministering to. Um, More so artistry for me, um, just then this is just my lens, of course. Artistry for me has really I've broadened my perspective because you have to be very intentional when it comes to business, branding your name. You have to be very intentional. And for me, I've noticed that there's been a difference between just being a praise and worship leader as it relates to you singing covers and you being an artist putting out content. And when you get to the point where you start putting out content, you have to intensify um, your intentionality. Like, you might not be able to go everywhere, you might not be able to do everything that everyone else does, because you now have a name and your name is your brand. And that's been
Wow.
one of my biggest lessons is, Chris, all right, your name is your brand, and you have to wear that. You have to wear
Right.
that.
Right. Wow. So let's talk about you mentioned earlier, like you kind of touched on it. You mentioned earlier about your style of Christian music. What would you say your style is?
Whew. um I would say that I'm more of a worship leader as it relates to my approach to music. Even in my original music, I everything that I write um, is not necessarily a praise and worship song. But in my journey of leading worship, I had to learn that praise and worship um, is simply it's it's a task that you have to fulfill when it comes to worship. And I believe that even though God has given me original music to put out, which qualifies me as an artist, I can't neglect my job as a worship leader to invite the people to worship the God that you sing about, or to glorify the God that you sing about. It coincides. So I look up to people like Todd Delaney, um, also Tasha Cobbs, of course. Everybody calls me Tasha. I don't get it, but I look up to those people because I believe that they have truly embraced the call, and also still have that intentionality of, I'm an artist. So, I, contemporary Christian, I would go that avenue.
Okay. So is it a challenge to be both? Like the on Sunday mornings when you get up
Whew.
with that praise team or that choir, is it a challenge to just stay in the mode of a worship leader? Or vice versa, when you're just doing you when you're doing an event, is there a challenge to not fall into the worship leader mode?
There definitely is a challenge not to fall into worship leader mode. Oh my gosh, that's one of my biggest challenges. More specifically because I struggled with my sound for so long.
Mhm.
Trying to find my way, finding my identity. Who am I? What is my sound? And now that I finally found it, I'm coming to understand that I used to think I was solely like, oh, lift your hands. I thought I was CCM, but I'm very churchy.
Right,
So
right, okay.
um, the challenge of like, all right, what's not too much? You know what I'm saying? I've been programmed as worship leader. I now have to be programmed as an artist. So with artistry, you walk a little different. You might incorporate praise and worship, but they've come to hear your sound, your music, your style. and
Mhm.
that's been a challenge for me.
What do you want people to take from your presentation? Like after they experience the Christian Williams experience, what do you want people to take from that? What do you want them to go away saying or thinking or feeling?
Good question. Um, I want them to go away feeling that they have had a connection with God, and that
Mm,
whatever God has placed in me to bring to them and minister to them, that they've been able to see God in that moment. Um, it would be nice for, I know I'm me, and I represent the artist in that moment. But my sole purpose is to allow space for them to experience a different kind of ministry, and prayerfully that they are able to reach heaven, um,
mm,
on uh, a more practical scale. It's funny. I'm gonna tell a brief story. My father would have been 71 this year. I'm 23,
mhm.
so you can imagine the
Yeah, right,
generation
right,
gap.
right,
Um,
right.
and before he passed, one of the conversations that he and I had, we kind of ruffled each other's feathers a little bit. My
Mhm,
dad was old school. Okay, as for me and my house, you will serve the Lord, but you will dress up and you will look presentable. And for him, jeans wasn't presentable.
mhm,
Um, and I told him, and even just using that small example, I told him, I said, Dad, one thing that I can appreciate is that people can look at me, and whether if I were to have facial piercings or tattoos or what have you, people can look at me and just through my story know that no matter where they are in their life, God can use them. It's for me, I want them to understand that no, you don't have to be perfect. um no, you don't have to have crossed every T and dotted every I. But as long as your heart is in the right posture, and as long as you are in the right place to receive from God, you can. As long as you're in the right place to be used by God, you can. And that's what I really want to drive home. I really want to drive that home.
wow. Yeah, that's a whole thing. We could do an interview just on that. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? Like the whole um imaging thing. You know what I mean? Are you even aware of that? Like in Christian music, like you personally, like the whole is how much how much does imaging play a role in being an artist, a Christian artist at that? You know what I mean? We know secular, the R&B artists, there's a lot of imaging, a lot of, you know, props and stuff. But
Mhm.
with Christian music, in your experience, how big has or should I say intentional have you been about imaging?
I would be honest and say that I need to be more intentional about imaging. Um, my mom is a photographer. So when we were doing pictures and headshots and things of that nature, I'm coming in like Christian. But, I had to be aware that this number one is going on an album cover.
Hmm.
Um, People are looking, you have different, and I think, oh, what gets us is we have to realize that we have different types of Christians watching.
Hmm.
You have some from the older generation, some from the newer generation, and you have to be able to cross those borders, without, I hate to say it like this, but without tainting your image in someone else's mind. You have to be able to reach all facets. I think from what I've observed personally in the gospel industry or in the Christian music industry, um, you have to be very intentional. You have to be when it comes to your image, not just behind a picture or a photograph, but even when you go out to minister, you have to be intentional um, in not spreading the wrong message, and not presenting yourself in the wrong way. And it seems like a whole lot of do's and don'ts, but for the craft itself or for your call, in the Christian music world. You have to be very intentional because unlike secular artists, you have an assignment. That's how I view it. I have an assignment and I have to be careful. And especially going into different environments, different denominations, different
Mhm.
churches, you have to be
Right. Good
sensitive.
point.
Some might allow sneakers and jeans, but others might want you to be in full convocation dress and things of that
Mhm.
nature. Um, I struggled because I was like, I looked up Tasha Cobbs. I said, does she have a nose ring? I wanted one, but I realized that for where I'm going as of right now, and this is just my personal conviction. I just gotta watch it because I'm in the Kojic church. I'm in the Apostolic. I frequent with a lot of different churches, and my goal is to never offend. Um,
Right.
my goal is to always make sure that the representation that I bring um, is encouraging and uplifting and never offensive. So it's tricky. It's very tricky. It's very tricky.
Yeah. Like I said, that's an interview in and of itself. That's a
It
discussion
is.
in and of itself.
Yes.
Um, let's talk about your single. Tell me about the single and what the origin of the single. What brought it about?
Yes, sir. Have Your Way was birthed out of a place of frustration. Um, felt like I was going in cycles and cycles and cycles. And I wrote that song in 2021. I wrote that in about 2018. Um, and my father had just passed. Um, I was frustrated. Like, Lord, I need you to do something. Like, I felt like I even as it relates to my personal walk with God, it was some habitual things that I was doing that I was like, God, I want to let it go, um, but I don't know how. And the Lord started dealing with me heavy on either you want it, or you want them, or you want me. And I just had to come to a place of full surrender. And I'm not gonna pose it like I'm perfect. It's still some things, some areas of my life. It's like God, God is asking me like, can you trust me completely? And I think Have Your Way for me has been an intentional, continual cry. Lord, have your way. That's where it came from. Whew, my life has been a journey to get to where I am today. But even now, I find myself rehearsing the lyrics to that song and really letting it sit with my spirit. And more recently, God, when I started releasing it, because I've been working on it for a good, probably like a year and a half.
Hmm.
I was working on it. But up until the time of the release, the Spirit of the Lord just kind of impressed upon my heart that this has to minister to you first
Right.
before it can register in the spirits of those that are listening. It has to really sit with you. It has to mean something to you. And you can't just send a message if you haven't done it yourself. So Have Your Way it's a deep place for me.
Wow. So have you or what are your intentions? Like, are you is this just a single for now, or is this a part of a bigger project?
Huh. Woo, you are asking the hard questions tonight. Um, for it's hard. Have Your Way for me, honestly, if I'm completely candid, I never saw myself going this far, but mainly because I stopped my own growth because I couldn't see beyond where I was. So for me to even release Have Your Way is is big for me. Um, Have Your Way is not the end. Um, Have Your Way is just a piece of the story that I want to tell. I definitely have more original music, um, and I definitely have a message that I want to release. And Have Your Way is only like a snippet of it. So it's a single now, but there's definitely more coming. Definitely.
Hold on one second. We having a little technical difficulties here. Okay, say something.
Can you hear me?
Yes, you were starting to distort a little bit. I was seeing trying to fix that issue. But so so far in your journey, um, and I've asked this a couple of times too. I've interviewed a couple of artists. I've interviewed like mainstream people that you would know and independent artists that you may not be familiar with. But I ask them the same questions, like in your processes up to this current point where you're at right now. Do you feel like you were ready for what you are experiencing now? Do you think that you are prepared for what you're experiencing now, or is this totally has this been an overwhelming or a really surprising process for you? Do you think that you were, excuse me, equipped or geared up for it? Do you think you were ready for anything? Looking back, and from where you are now to where you started.
No, I do not. Um, this has been a trust God all the way process.
Hmm.
Um, everything that I've done so far, I've had wisdom imparted here and there, but it's a trial and error thing. I didn't know what artistry was, and I didn't know to what extent I was gonna have to put on that role in order to. Well, I have songs I've written. I want to release them. Well, you know that qualifies you as an artist, right? Not really. Oh, okay. And as soon as I put the work in, I was like, oh my gosh, no, I can't do this. And it has been overwhelming and surprising. I didn't think it took that much administratively. I didn't think it took that much promotionally. I did not think it took that much. I was like, what? And now I understand why people sign to labels.
Uh-oh, I can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. I understand why people sign to labels. Um, it's a lot of work, especially
Yeah.
when you're doing it independently. So it's been overwhelming and surprising, but it's been a faith walk and it's been a journey. And honestly, despite the bumps in the road that I might experience from time to time, I love it. I love it.
Ironically, with it's ironic that with social media being the new thing, it's meant to make things more convenient and more accessible. But to your point, promotionally,
Woo.
while it's meant to make it things easier, it just makes it just presents a whole new challenge because I've seen all types of promotional rollouts for different things. And so you not necessarily competing, but you
Mm-hmm.
want to be comparable to
Yes.
what's out there. And sometimes you're, comparable to people who have the machine behind them. They have labels behind them. They have teams behind them
Yes.
and stuff like that. So I totally get what you're saying. But like I said, it's ironic that social media is supposed to this whole internet thing and this whole social media thing is it seems like it was kind of meant to even the playing field, but all it did was kind of present a
Yes.
new challenge
Yes.
to the process.
And
Do
furthermore,
you,
if I might add, people will support what they see.
mm,
And it's a constant struggle. The fight between doing ministry and because even in artistry it's ministry, doing ministry and I hate to say it like this, but the perception of you genuinely doing ministry or doing it for promotional purposes.
mm,
Um, because one thing that I've had to realize is I'm my own promotional source. I
right.
have to promote. I have to I have to reshare those clips. I have to get
Mhm.
those moments where people can understand what it is I do. That's their platform. That's how they see me. If they don't see me in person, that's how, and typically that's how people get booked. But it's always that constant struggle of, and I've received feedback before, like, do you just do it for the promotional purposes? No, because the fight that I go through Monday through Saturday is not for promotional purposes.
Right,
But at the same token, as an artist, you have to remember that you have an audience that you now have to appeal to
right.
on a consistent basis, and you have to be
Mhm,
consistent when it comes to promotional. You
mhm.
have to be consistent.
So does Christian Williams have a team, or is this a at this present state is this a one man band, so to speak?
at
Or
this
is there a team?
at this present moment, I have someone that helps manage me.
Okay,
But besides the two of us, it is a two-man band.
okay,
We make decisions. We handle administrative things. I'm in the process of understanding that I can't carry that load by myself. But it's a thing of trust. It's a thing of trust for me. I'm not only trusting you with my brand, but ultimately I'm trusting you with a level of me that you might get that not everybody else does. And as an artist or as even a worship leader, you have to be careful of who you let into your space. um, Intentionality has to be in that moment as well. So I'm I need help, but I'm definitely taking into account what I'm doing, not having too many hands in the pot, and making sure that whatever decisions that I make or we make together is conducive for what's gonna happen next. So
what's in this process? What has been um, have you found yourself? Have you found out something about things about yourself that you didn't know before you started? Like, what was the most surprising thing you found out about yourself during this process? And let me elaborate on that question. Um, when I used at one time I was doing music, and it was very hard to um, find musicians, because I was in a place that I'm not from the area, you know what I'm saying? So you're getting to know people and people don't really know you. So they're kind of, skeptical about working with you. So I had to end up learning how to use music making software and different stuff like that. And over time I got better at it. And to a point where I could actually create my own tracks for myself.
mm,
But in that process, I realized that I enjoy producing. I enjoy promoting too. I like the promoting stuff. That's fun to me. Um, in your process, what has been the most surprising thing that you found out that you can do, first of all, and that you like to do outside of the creative process of making music?
ah, that's a tricky question. um, okay, in my process, I've learned that administratively, I am better than I thought I was. I have to give myself that. I'm a procrastinator. um, I found out that for me, I have so many ideas. I have so many ideas, and I'm a scatterbrain. So I want to do this one moment. I want to start this project. I want to start another project. But it's almost like in my mind, I've created like file cabinets of like, okay, this is what you have to do now. This is what you can start on now. This is what you can handle now. And I think administratively, this has really pushed me beyond like what I'm used to. You can't be late with certain deadlines. You can't be sloppy when it comes to booking. You cannot. You can't. You have to do everything precisely. So I think administratively, I've learned a lot. I learned that I could do more than I thought. I thought I would need an assistant to do, but I can really do. Um, but I think outside of the creativity of music, yeah.
So the
Oh,
administrative part. Okay. Well, that's awesome. Yeah, and it's interesting when especially when you're like you said, independent. And I'm a lot like you know what I'm saying? You have ideas in the midst of ideas, in the middle of ideas.
yep.
Ideas inspire other ideas. And it's like it's hard
Mm-hmm.
to pin one thing, down and complete it because it's like you don't want to lose the fire for this new
Yeah.
idea that's coming. You're working on something, but you don't want to
Yes.
lose the fire of what's coming
Yes.
up. So I know that struggle. That struggle is absolutely real. So, who would you say? First of all, how long has the single been out?
The single has been out almost a month. Not a month yet.
Mhm.
Um,
Okay.
August 31st will make a month.
And what has the feedback been like?
Uh, it's been amazing. It's been overwhelming. Um,
Mhm.
I always doubted my music. But my friends, I would always play snippets. I got a bridge to this song, or I got a chorus to this song. And
Mhm.
when I did my original music showcase, my close friends were really my anchors because in moments where I wanted to quit, they would say no. But not a lot of people, surprisingly, were involved in this process for Have Your Way. I didn't include too many people. Not a lot of people knew. So it was a surprise to everyone. But I've been receiving those messages like this song has really ministered to me in moments where I felt like I was ready to give up on God, or in moments where I didn't see the value in, you know, keeping this thing going. Um, I've had some people even reach out to me and tell me that now they know what was missing, what they needed to do. Just say yes and surrender. And for me, that is why I put out Have Your Way. And of course, musically, people were excited about it's a new sound. Um, they were definitely excited musically, but overall, the feedback has been overwhelmingly amazing and exciting.
That's awesome. And you will never, you have to ride this as much as you possibly can because it'll never feel like this again. This
Mm,
this first that first time, that first music that you put out, that first project, it'll never feel like that again. You know what I'm
yeah.
saying? That excitement, that fresh hunger, that just not knowing what's around the corner. So you like, you know what I mean? That whole thing. But it's absolutely a dope and awesome experience. Let me ask you this. I've asked this question before too. In your process, right? It's funny when you're a creative and you're doing things. You have sometimes you have two sets of people. Now, and the funny thing about it is that they both feel like they're feel like they're telling you the right thing. They both love you, but
Hmm.
they're not haters. But it's two sets of people. They love you. One set of people will say, um, Christian, I know some people who have done what you're trying to do and it didn't really work out that well, or it took them a long time, or they lost a lot of money, or whatever the case. Maybe you should maybe rethink what you're doing. Now, these people love you. These are, people that truly care about your well being. But then you got somebody on the other side that is saying, Christian, you are awesome. You are dope. You are amazing. You should be doing more. You should be doing what Tasha Cobb's doing. You need to be on have more internet presence. You need to have more YouTube clips. You need to be writing more songs. Blah 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 blah. So in essence, on you got one person that's telling you you're not doing enough, but then on the other side, you got people just saying that you're doing too much.
Yep.
And has that been a part of your experience since you started? And
Absolutely.
how have you navigated and how have you been able to navigate through that?
Absolutely. It has been, even now, I have some people I know that are gonna say, you're you know, you're too ambitious right now.
Mhm.
Like, slow down, you just started. Um, but for and then you have those people that are, girl, go, go, go. And for me, because I've been holding so much music, I went through today and I looked at how many songs I've written. Um, and Have Your Way is only one. And I'm like, ugh, I have so much more to give. Listening, you have to be careful who and what you allow in your ear gates.
Mm,
Because for me and my experience, it slowed me all the way down. It slowed me down. It caused me to stop believing in myself. Um, and I just stayed still for a period of time. And then the people who, were like, you need to be doing more. You could have had a single out by now. You playing with us. We waiting to hear. We waiting to hear. And then it's like, okay, well, I'm gaining momentum and I'm working and I'm working and I'm working and I think I'm ready and I think I'm ready. But it's all about the timing of God. It's all about the timing of God. I have really had to assess who is for me, um, and who's just connected to me for what they can get. Um, because I've had the struggle of their opinions, weighing out their opinions. And for me, being in that position, you literally have to depend on God as your source and listen to his voice. Because listening to the voices of other people will either have you moving out of season, out of timing, or you would have delayed yourself so long that, oh, I'm waiting on God. I'm waiting on God. No, God is waiting on you to move. And that's been a constant struggle. Like, okay, Lord, I'm going to jump out here. But if I jump out here, I need you to make provision for the vision. But okay, Lord, I'm going to wait until, you know, you tell me the timing is right. So it's been like a tug of war. So I definitely have had those experiences. And um, I'm glad I've been sensitive to the move of God and the voice of God. Because had I not, I would have either moved too quickly or moved out of season.
wow. That look, you sound so like. Listen, we have a lot in common
Mhm.
when it comes to that. So that's really wow. How much of a challenge has it been for you not to chase a sound?
uh, okay, so growing up, this is good to me. Growing up, my home church used tracks. Um, so we would be JJ Harrison. Like, we were all singing together. And whatever the lead did, you had to do. Um, so I grew up learning music as the track. So stepping out in 2016, um, having to feel my way. I had never really sang with musicians before. I never sung with musicians before, so that was a challenge in and of itself. Um, but growing up, I had it registered. I had to sound like the person that whose song I was doing. I had to sound like them. I had to mimic them. I had to be them. Coming into my own, I strayed away from that as much as possible. I completely anything that made me feel like I had to confine myself in a box. I tried to shut it out. Um, I had spent years doing that. Years doing that. Um, And for me, it was a struggle to find my voice and my sound. Because then you have people, I don't know if it's because of the looks or what, but the people that I get are Tasha Cobbs and Miranda Curtis. But as I started coming into my sound, I noticed that I sounded a lot authoritative. I was very authoritative, and I am very authoritative. And sometimes I find myself restricting myself in a moment because I don't want to sound like somebody else. I want to be who God has called me to be in its entirety. And I want to fulfill that. I want to fulfill my assignment, but I don't want it to sound like Tasha Cobbs, or I don't want it to sound like Miranda Curtis, because for so many years I've been I've been trained to sound like somebody else. So it's been a journey, an interesting one at that. Um, but it's so refreshing because it didn't take me too long to find it. It didn't take me too long to find it. So it was a struggle, but
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely tough. You know, I was talking to a, a youth choir, that a youth praise team that I was singing with recently, and I felt led to, tell them what I felt God was telling me to tell them. You know what I'm saying? We love who we love. You know what I'm saying? We watch Ty Tribbett's, we watch Kirk Franklin's, we watch Erica Campbell's, and the
mm-hmm,
list goes on and on. I'm a big Fred Hammond fan, so you watch
mm-hmm,
Fred Hammond and all these different ones, right? And we admire them, and we watch their YouTube clips, and we watch what they do. You know, just how they move, even down to the mannerisms. Like
yes,
Fred Hammond sits, he sings a lot of times. He sings with his hand in his pocket. I
mm-hmm,
caught myself doing that.
mm-hmm,
You know what I'm saying? And it's like it's very tough to be inspired without, like you said, becoming that person. Almost
yes,
almost becoming a second version of that person.
yes.
Um, is that a challenge? Like, um, to listen. How important is it to listen to other people's other people's music? Because it's like you want to be you want to be fed and enriched and empowered and stuff like that, but you don't want your ear to be, I guess, tainted, or what, for
Mm-hmm,
lack of a better word.
mm-hmm,
Um,
yeah.
is that a thing for you? Like, is it a struggle? Do you have to, like, literally cut the amount of music that you listen to? Do you have to curtail some of the music that you listen to and some of the people that you listen to?
That's funny. Yes, to a certain extent. Um, my voice, I have a very weird voice. I call it. Um, I'm churchy. I can get down with church, but I'm not a runner. Like
Mhm,
I can power walk you down a good note, but I can't write you. Um, I had to watch myself when I listened to Todd Delaney.
mhm,
Todd Delaney and I do the same riffs and the same runs. And I didn't notice it until I would go back and listen to my clips and the different nuances that he would do in between verses or in silent moments or moments, worship moments. Those are the same things I do.
mhm,
And then, I would have friends tell me, "Girl, you was up there growling like Tasha," and I'm like, "Wait,
mhm,
let me go back." And I would go back and I would compare the song that they would tell me, and I'm like, "Uh-oh, I think I'm starting to do it." So I have had to like really like curtail some of the artists and really diversify myself. Um, I love Hillsong. Oh, I love Hillsong. I love All Nations. I have and I'm trying to be more diversified so that wherever I go, I can, fit in and people not think that, oh, she just out here trying to sound like Tasha. Or she's out here trying to stuff like that. It's a thing, right? You like we laugh at it, but it's a thing. It's a real thing. People will sit here and accuse you of trying to be somebody else when you don't even probably know that you do what you do. So I try and make sure that I'm diversified in what I listen to, so I don't start sounding too much like one person.
Yeah, that's funny. Um, um, yeah, back when I was really doing my music, like I was doing gospel too, but um, one of my friends, shout out to Maurice, he's called me Gospel Tank. He said I sounded like Tank. So it's like I started really like that thing really started like messing with me to the point where I started listening to more and more Tank. Now I'm really a fan of his. I was always a fan of his, but what he put that see, I started like really checking him out. I was like, he's really, whatever, but that's a whole other thing. Anyway, um, what would what would you say is the most common misconception that people have about you?
Mm. You hit me with the hard ones today. Um, whew, I'll give you two.
Okay.
Um, One of them being that I just have one of them being that I've gotten that I appear to be arrogant. I'm so not. Which ties into the next one, that I know what I'm doing and I don't. I don't. Literally it's okay God, you got me. I promise if you sing to me, I'll sing back to you type thing. I don't know what I'm doing. It's trial and error. And literally the best moments I've learned come out of when you're in a vulnerable place where you're completely relying on the Holy Spirit. So, um, some people, just think I know what I'm doing, or I know I'm supposed to be here, or I know I'm supposed. No, I'm just now embracing confidence. What? You will not see me pace a floor when I sing praise and worship. I ain't falling. Like I, I keep my movements limited. I used to, at least keep my movements limited, keep my vocal ability limited, because I don't want to try anything in the moment and then my voice crack, or and then my mind is going from actually leading you to worship to, girl, you just made a big fool of yourself. I I'm just now embracing confidence. I think people think that I know what I'm doing, and I know that I'm supposed to be in a room, and I carry myself not necessarily arrogant, but I carry myself like I've been here before. Mm-mm. Mm-mm. I'm trying not to put out the room. I just got in. So that's it's, and like I said, like, it's a thing, you always have to remain teachable. You always have to remain in a posture where you're teachable and you can learn. And that's just what I try and do.
What? So tell me what's I got a two-parter.
Okay.
And since you started in your process, what is the best word of advice you received and the worst word of advice you've received?
Mm. The best word of advice. Um, Shameless plug. I'm gonna shout out my cousin Kristen Rousen, because she's taught me a lot of what I know today. Herself and Joseph Haynes, they've taught me a lot of what I know today, as it relates to presenting yourself and leading worship. But one thing that my cousin Kristen said to me, she told me, she really emphasizes, don't look for reaction. Don't look for reaction. Whether that's praise and worship, or even in being an artist, don't look for a reaction, because you'll tire yourself out trying to find that reaction and totally miss that somebody was able to receive from you in a somber state. I've learned not to look for that reaction. Um, and I've also learned that it's the job of the Holy Spirit for whatever you do and within His power to register with someone. So that's probably the best. That's the best thing. That's the thing that I keep close to me. Um, the worst piece of advice would have to be along artistry lines. Um,
Mm,
and I think for me, it would have been that I just needed to go ahead and do it and stop being scared.
mm,
Because even though that is kind of encouragement, or try, someone might try to encourage you. Like I said earlier, you have to really be intentional with your movement. And because I was trying to appease the people that said, "Girl, just go ahead and put out that song," I rushed
mm.
and had to start from scratch. Rushed and had to start from scratch. So that's probably the worst thing I could say I've ever tried to listen to or received. I know now not to just move. I know now to talk to the right people, talk to the people that's been there, done that, see what their process was. How did they go about doing it? Like, no. Like, slow down and assess what it is you're trying to do and talk to the right people.
So we already talked about, um, some of your influence. You said Todd Delaney and Tasha Cobb, to name a couple. But locally, who would you say are some of your musical influences? And I ask that because I don't think that enough flowers are given to the local artists,
Hmm.
because
Yes.
there are so many. Because I live in Hampton, you know what I'm
Okay.
saying? And yeah, and there are so many people that inspire me that I see on Sunday morning. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
I don't have to go to YouTube. I don't have to go to BT. I don't have to go here and there and everywhere. There are people that are right around me. Like,
Right.
shout out to my boy Rob Arrington Jr., Wendy
Yes.
Arrington. Um, Shout out to Jessica Freeman. Shout out to Sierra Parker,
Yes.
Jackie Pate, Dominique Piggott,
Yes.
um, Maurice Rogers, and Chosen. I mean, just not just these are just a few of the ones that really, really inspire me. But who would you say locally is your, a couple of your influences that you really admire?
Definitely. You called out a couple of them. Definitely Dominic Pickett. Um, he's
Absolutely.
definitely one of my influences. Ronald Quartz. I look
Okay.
up to him. I
Yeah,
look
he's
up to
gonna be
him.
on here in a couple weeks.
Yeah, I really love him. Um, Kristen Rousen is one of my influences. Desmond Harrison. He's definitely one of my influences. Trying to think. William Mosby. I don't know if you know William Mosby, but
I'm not familiar with him.
oh my gosh, forced to be reckoned with. I definitely glean from him. Trying to think. I don't want to miss anybody. I don't like calling names, but let's see, locally. Definitely. And they're not art. They do BGVs. For people, Ronnie Wilson in artistry. Um,
Hold on one second. Hold on one
okay.
second. Okay,
All right, we good.
hold on. Okay, try again.
We good.
Yeah. it's like it's starting to it's distorting a little bit. No, who are
Oh
you saying?
man. Ronnie Wilson and artistry, they do BGVs. Their professionalism. Oh, I glean from that. Their professionalism and their sound is amazing. Um, Joseph Haynes, definitely. Maurice Rogers. Definitely Dimitri Nicky. So people like that.
That's awesome. I think that yeah, and like I said, I think it's important to really big up the the local independent artists. Caleb Warren. Um, I got to get you on here too, Kayla. I'm looking for you too. We're supposed to
Hmm.
get on here. Um, yeah, it's just not enough. Uh, we should make more of an effort to big up the local artists
Definitely.
and support their movements and things of that nature.
Definitely.
Um, this is my last final official question for you.
Okay.
It's a question that I ask all my guests. Um, so once I ask it, I just want you to take a minute and think about it, and then give me the most honest and transparent answer that you could possibly give. Um, and we'll go from there.
Okay.
Uh, what would have to happen if it hasn't happened already in your life for you to consider your life a success for you personally? What does success look like for you?
Mm. Hmm. Okay. Whew. I think for me personally, in my 23 years of living, I've hit rock bottom and I've come back. For me, success isn't about being in the forefront. It's about being influential. Um, I'll know that I'm successful when number one, life circumstances didn't cause me to quit. But when somebody can look at me and say, "You've helped me continue on in my journey," I think for me, that's where I that's the level of success. And whatever facet that comes, I just want to be able to steward whatever territory God gives me in order to be able to say that I was successful in helping, even if it's that one, say, I looked at you and I got what I needed. I got the strength that I needed. That's that's success for me.
Okay, okay. Oh, I got me a little misty eyed over here a little bit. Um, it's all good, dog. I'm gonna fight it back. I'm a man. I'm a man. Um,
Let it out. Let it out.
so for those that may want to try to get in touch with you, that may want to ask a question or get advice or maybe so into your movement, um, how would somebody get in touch with you?
Yes. So you would be able to get in touch with me on Facebook. My personal Facebook page is Christian Williams. Um, I do also have a music page, Christian Williams Music. If you were to email me, or there's an email link that's linked directly to that Facebook page. And it's Christian Williams Music at gmail.com. Um, Also, I'm on Instagram, Christ underscore Will. I know it's corny. I was 13. Don't judge me. The CHRIST underscore WILL. And you can reach out to me on any of those platforms, and I will reach back out.
Well, Miss Christian, I truly enjoyed talking with you. I appreciate you coming on because I know that you could have been doing uh, googobs of different other things, but you decided to come on with me, and I really appreciate that. And the viewers really appreciate that too. And I pray that you receive nothing but blessings. Have your way. Sky's the limit, and don't let that be the only offering that you release to the people. I know that there's more. I know that there's more, but this is just like the tip of the iceberg. So I pray blessings on this and everything else that you venture out to do. And I pray that a stable mind that you be able to finish projects one by one by one by one by one. No fragmentation, no pieces, complete complete wholeness. Um, I wish that upon you. And again, I just thank you. You have been an awesome guest. And look, I told you, time just flies by. Like it don't seem like we've been talking for an hour, right? Well,
It
we've been out
doesn't.
here for it. We've been out actually a little bit over an hour.
Wow.
So so look, this is practice. You got a lot of more interviews coming up, and this is airing on YouTube as well, so you can actually check it out. Check out this interview. Watch it on YouTube and share it with whomever you please, and do whatever you would like to do with it.
Will do.
But like I said, this is just the beginning. This is just one of many interviews that you'll be doing, I'm sure.
Thank you so much for having me. I was a little nervous, but I thank you so much for having me. I count it as an
Absolutely.
honor.
Absolutely. I look forward to having you on again in the near future. And
Definitely.
hopefully next time we talk, you'll have a complete project. We'll be talking about a complete project and probably a tour or something that you got going on.
Definitely.
All right,
Definitely.
don't laugh because it could happen. It could happen. I'm telling you.
Definitely. I'm looking for it.
All right. Listen, I thank you again for coming on. I hope you have an awesome night and an awesome weekend. And again, I look forward to sitting down with you again in the near future.
Thank you. You have a wonderful evening and weekend as well.
You too. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you. There you have it. Another great episode of Let's Take a Walk with Miss Christian Williams. Please check out her new single "Have Your Way," which is on on all major platforms. Just check it out. Please support her. Hit her up on Instagram. Hit her up on Facebook. Hit her up smoke signals. You see her on the street. Hey, listen, shout her out. Let her know that supporting her or whatever. Awesome. Listen, it is what it is. But I thank you guys for coming on. I really appreciate you guys coming on as always because I know that you don't have to do that. Um, I appreciate you sending comments and hitting. And when you see me, on the street and stuff like that, you talk to me about the show and I get DMs and all that. I really, really appreciate it. Um, these last few weeks have been very challenging for me emotionally, but this is one of the things. Let's Take Walk is one of the things that kind of helped me navigate through everything. So I appreciate you all, and I thank you for coming on. So with that being said, I will see you guys next Friday. In the meantime, you be blessed, and you guys be good, and all that. Let's take a walk.